it's Edie, and today's video is kind of a two-parter. So it was supposed to be one single unboxing video. However, I kind of talked about why I don't resonate with certain decks and why I do resonate with decks, and there was like this whole like 10-minute spiel, like a long enough to be its own video. There was a spiel at the beginning that just made this video way too long. So it's actually a two-parter. So this is part one, where I talk about my personal reading style and why I resonate with a certain kind of deck and why I don't resonate with a deck, and I kind of compare two decks to show you exactly what I'm talking about and why those decks don't work for me. Part two is going to be the actual unboxing of the Everyday Witch Tarot that I just got, and I'm so excited. So this is part one. This is where I kind of go off on a little bit of a rant and a tangent, and you know, it's like explanation time. So stick around for that. And then part two is going to be the unboxing of the Everyday Witch Tarot. So I hope you enjoy. Now, if you've been following along, you know that I don't have too many tarot decks. I've unboxed a couple that I recently acquired. I tried to do tarot years ago when I first started my path, and it did not resonate because I was trying to memorize what a book told me, and everything that I read basically went against what the books always said. So I thought I couldn't read tarot. It wasn't until I lived in Sicily that I got this itch to kind of dive back in, and I started with an oracle deck. And you know, I've been looking into different tarot decks since then, and I'm finding that the reason I never learned tarot before, why I couldn't read tarot before, was because I read intuitively, and I was trying to force what a book was telling me into my brain. Like I was trying to force, the Magician always means this, the Empress always means this, the Ten of Wands always means this. I was trying to force that in and like memorize it, and it, you know, I was just butting up against it every single time because I read intuitively, but I didn't know that at the time. So I have recently discovered that if I just close the fucking book and ignore it or throw it away, that I can read tarot just fine. So, and I know that that's gonna like ruffle some feathers, and there are people who, you know, go strictly with the system and tarot, each card means a certain thing. That just doesn't work for me. So that's not how I read. I read intuitively. So I have been purchasing a few decks. I have a couple of physical decks. I absolutely love my soul cards because there is no book. You have to read that intuitively. And that was really the first deck that I resonated with, was the soul cards. I have my Sacred Rebels Oracle, which the card, the visual on the card, while they are stunning cards, I don't always get a whole, I do get things from the card, but I don't get this whole big in-depth thing from the image. The phrasing on the bottom of the card is very enlightening for me, and it always sparks quite a bit. But I love the Sacred Rebels because each of those cards kind of has not a meaning, but what it kind of represents. And there's a healing process that goes along with each card. So I love that deck, and I love the book that goes along with that deck. I also have, what are they? I have the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, which again, a stunning deck, but visually there's not a whole lot going on there, and there's a lot of fire. Man, I fucking love it. It's gorgeous, but I don't read from it very well. And then I have the Enchanted Map Oracle, which I don't really love the deck. And I have, oh, they're across the way. What is it? Oh, not the Hidden Realm. Shit, I have to go look. Heart of Fairy. That's the deck I was trying to think of the name of. I have the Heart of Fairy Oracle. I'll talk about that one last. Then I have the Green Witches Tarot. That has been the only tarot deck that I have really liked reading with, that I have a physical deck of. I use it on every Sabbat and SBAT. I do a spread, usually one that I just find on Pinterest because I like the thought-provoking questions that they offer. And because it's not traditional, I really resonate with the imagery on the Green Witch Tarot. I think the reason I do like that deck so much is because it is not traditional. I do not like traditional tarot decks. I do not like the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. I don't like the traditional meanings behind a lot of the cards. It doesn't resonate with me, and if you put a Rider-Waite deck in front of me, it will repel me because I don't like the Christian imagery. So again, I think that's why I like the Green Witch Tarot. The last deck, the one that I wanted to talk about, is the Heart of Fairy Oracle deck. I do not like the deck. It's very facey, which some people like, but to me, that's not telling me a story. Actually, let me pull a couple cards and show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I pulled a few of each deck, a few cards from each deck, so I can kind of tell you a little bit more about why I say I don't like the Heart of Fairy Oracle deck. So a few of these cards, so first of all, let me say, I need a story. If you just show me a face without emotion on that face, I'm gonna get nothing. That is not how I read. I'm not gonna memorize what a book tells me a certain face means. So, looking at this, the Lady of the Forest, I get nothing from that. There's no story there. There's no action happening. There's no sorrow or joy or anything on her face. It is a beautiful card. It's beautiful artwork by Brian and Wendy Froud. But there's nothing there to read from. The song, I get nothing from that. What the fuck are you trying to tell me here? I mean, yeah, wearing a mask. That's the only thing. But I don't think the song is about masks. So there's a disconnect between what I would get and the keyword on this. The remembrance. While there is some emotion in this face, it doesn't connect to the keyword. So if he's remembering anything, it's a troubled memory, it's a sad memory, and I would think that remembrance would be a good thing to me, you know, honor, remembrance, that kind of thing. This one is this is how the majority of the deck is for me. The Thief. If there was no keyword on here, I would get absolutely nothing from this card. It's just a fucking face. There's nothing there. There's no anger. There's no sorrow. There's no joy. There's no excitement. It's just a very well drawn face, which is really fucking boring when it comes to reading tarot and oracle cards. Here's another one. This is another thing, a problem that I have with this deck. And I don't mean for this video to turn into a rant on the Heart of Fairy Oracle, but I just want to kind of showcase why I don't resonate with the decks that I have on hand. So again, a beautiful card, but there's so much going on here. And yet no story. These things don't go together. They're not telling me anything. It's just a bunch of individual images who look like they've been overlaid on top of one another in order to fill a space. There's no story here. There's nothing happening that I would be able to read. There are a few of the cards that where I don't get anything from the imagery, I do get something from the keywords. So the Shadow of the Past, that works for me. That starts my brain working. That makes me ask questions and think about what shadow from my past is coming up. How do I need to work on that? How can I resolve it and move forward? The keywords there work. This one does nothing for me. Again, a whole lot going on. It's such a busy card, but there's no story being told. And the dreaming, that's a great keyword, but not. You know what I mean? Again, the keyword, the returning, but the card, nothing. That's not telling me a story. Well, he kind of looks like he's a shady bastard. Like, I don't like him. I don't like the imagery. I get an uneasy vibe from him. I feel like he's shisty and shady. The Lady of Unicorns, what the fuck? Like, no, there's no. So, and then you have the Green Witch Tarot, which, like I said, there were a few cards in here that I kind of have a difficult time reading. So the Queen of Chalices, this is very similar. It's just a beautiful image with no story really being told. If I sat with this for a while, I'm sure things would come to me. Like, I get that she is on this little dais in the middle of this troubled water, and I get that there's something to read in there. But just looking at the card initially, it doesn't spark a whole lot for me. Another one that's like that is the Horned God. While I do get that it's about the hunt and abundance and possibly sex and, you know, all the things that go into the wild hunt, I only know that because of the keyword. If I sat with this card, things would come to me, but just on initial glance, not a whole lot. There are only a handful of cards in this deck that do that, because the majority of the cards, ooh, I dropped one. This is another one, Seven of Wands. Is she reaching for something? Is she putting something back? I know there's a glare, sorry. Is she reaching? Is she putting something back? Those are the kinds of things that I would think about, but initially, not a whole lot. There's like 5 or 6 cards in the entire deck that the artwork doesn't really spark what I think it should. For the most part though, this initially, and this is the Green Witch Tarot for those of you who are interested. You know, this one's all about family and abundance and that celebration, creativity, sharing, and again, abundance. And so I know I'm trying to like get the glare off of there. I know it's like I can't talk because I'm trying to tilt it in just a way that there's no glare. Anyway, you know, you've worked hard, you've grown the apples, you've picked the apples, you've shined them up, you've made the wine, and now you're sharing that. So like a lot comes to me from this. This is about balance and, oh God, it's not focusing. Balance, you know, making a choice, all of that. So there's a story being told in all of those cards. This is the prime example of these two decks. So this is the Heart of Fairy, and this is the Green Witch Tarot. It's the exact same card. They're both called the Green Man. Trying to get the glare off. They're both called the Green Man. But in this image, it's just a face. There's no story being told there. There's no emotion. It's just a keyword with a gorgeous face. I love this card. It's gorgeous. I don't get anything from it. This one, however, let me leave them side by side. There's such a story going on here. There's such a celebration. There's such a reverence. There's so much happening in the story of this card. They're the exact same card. They have the same title. Even the faces look very similar on the Green Man. But it's two different feelings that come from the cards. While this one gives me nothing, this one gives me everything. So that's what I like in a deck. I like for a deck to give me a story. I like for the cards to pull me in. I want to be able to see the scene play out. They're not just still images for me. So for example, let me pull these two back up again. In the Heart of Fairy, it's just a face. Like I could see this as a plaque hanging somewhere. I could see this on an altar somewhere, but I don't see anything happening. This card absolutely comes to life. I see the celebration there. I see the jovial dancing and the laughter and the, you know, I can hear the drumming and, you know, I know that there's, oh, it's not focusing. I know that there was a feast and, you know, I see that story come to life. And that's what I need out of a deck. That's what I want out of a deck. And if a deck doesn't give me that, then I'm not gonna enjoy reading it, and I feel like it would be a waste of money, and I am not a deck collector, so the decks that I do have better fucking read well. You know, they need to do for me what they're supposed to do. And this deck might very well resonate with someone. Like I'm sure there's someone watching this video right now who absolutely loves the Heart of Fairy Oracle and doesn't understand why I can't read it. I get nothing from it. So I tell you all of that to tell you all of this. Because I do have a handful of decks and I'm not a deck collector, I only want a few decks, and I want those decks to read well for me. I want to resonate with those decks. I want to connect with those decks. And I want to feel like they're telling me a story and they're pulling something out of me that I would not necessarily have thought of on my own. And I want to feel like the magical energy of the deck is connected to my intuition, and that the imagery that I'm seeing is then bringing thoughts to my consciousness that I would not have gotten otherwise. I want a deck to make me think. I want a deck to make me question. And I want a deck that literally pulls me in and that I can see exactly what it's telling me instantly. I don't want to have to think about it. I want to get an initial gut reaction. As soon as I see that card, boom, oh yeah, that's what it's telling me. You know, as soon as I draw, actually, let me just draw a card and see. I'm shuffling here. Okay, so as soon as I draw a card, there's a story there. There's abundance, there's a feast, there's possible glutton, you know? Like, it instantly makes me start thinking of things. And I didn't even really look at this card, I glanced at it. But my point is, like, this instantly gives me something to think about. That's what I want in a deck. So, because I am so picky about the decks that I read with, and I don't want to waste any more money on decks that I don't like, I have started buying apps. Now, I do not like deck apps. My phone's about to die. I hope they pull up. I like feeling the physical cards in my hand. I like shuffling. I like holding the cards. I like putting my energy into the cards. I like connecting with them. I like that energetic link between my intuition, my physical body, and the deck. So I like that touch aspect, that real world, real life connection that also goes along with the spiritual and intuitive connection. So I like physical decks. I like physical tools. Having said that, for that reason, I don't like app decks. However, I absolutely love app decks because you get to play with the deck, you get to see the images, you get to do readings and see if the cards resonate for you before you invest in the physical deck. So generally a tarot deck will run you about $20, $25-ish. That's for a mass-produced, you know, Llewellyn or even Blue Angel, you know, a deck that you could go to Barnes & Noble and pick up, or one that you can easily pick up on Amazon. A tarot deck will cost you roughly $20 to $25. There are some who are, you know, artisan decks or self-published decks that are going to be more expensive, rightly so, because there's so much more that goes into that. But either way, even $20, that's nothing to sneeze at. And $50 is even more of an investment. So having the ability to spend $5 to play with a deck and test it out has been incredibly helpful for me. So let me just show you quickly. I have all of these in app form. So there's 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 tarot decks in app form that I really liked, that I thought I would resonate with, and that I wanted to purchase, but didn't want to invest the $20+ in and then be disappointed. So I purchased the apps, which are only $5, and played with them and have done readings with them, done daily card draw. Oh, I just kicked the tripod, sorry. I've done daily card draws with them and, you know, really spent some time with the decks. No, it's not the physical deck, but yes, I do get to experience the deck and and connect with the deck on at least some level and see if it reads well for me, if I connect with it, if I get intuitive hits from the deck or not. So I absolutely love app decks for that reason. And the main deck that was standing out to me that I really just wanted to go buy was the Everyday Witch Tarot, which is right here. I'll open up the app. So the Everyday Witch Tarot, I don't know what the box looks like, but I will in just a few minutes. So the Everyday Witch Tarot, it's been all over the internet, but I tried not to look at too many of the cards to begin with because I wanted to see it in action, and I didn't want to hear what other people had to say about it. I wanted to make my own judgment. So the thing that I really was drawn to was that it was such a non-traditional deck. It is so witchy and it is so not Rider-Waite. So I was like, oh my gosh, I love that deck. And there are a few cards that have different names to them, and there are keywords on them that really stood out to me and seemed different from a lot of the other decks that are out right now. So I bought the app, and I've been playing with the app for about 3 months now. I fucking love this deck. Man, I will go to the app deck for the Everyday Witch before I go to a physical deck in my house. With the exception of my soul cards and my Sacred Rebel, which my Sacred Rebel is attuned to a specific purpose. So if I'm doing something with that purpose, I only use the Sacred Rebel. My soul cards, they're a whole different system. They are something of themselves, and they are not a tarot or oracle deck. Well, they are an oracle deck, but in a different way. Anyway, so I don't really count those two. But for the tarot decks that I have on hand, I will go to the app over any of those physical decks, because this fucking deck, dude, I have never connected and resonated with a deck like this. Every single image that I have seen, I just instantly know exactly what it's telling me. And as a rule, because I read intuitively, I always put out my spread. I go through and I do my own personal reading, and I journal about what I'm getting from the cards. I journal about my thoughts, my intuitive hits, and the questions that come up for me, and the things that I feel like I get from the cards and what I need to think about. You know, the insights that are given to me. I journal all of that, and I get it all out. Like I write until I can't write anymore, until I can't squeeze any more juice out of the card. Then, once I have fully read the cards and the spread, I will then go to the book. For all of my decks, I do this. And then I will see what the book has to say. And I don't read the book so that the book can tell me if I was correct or not. I read the book to see if there's anything else that further resonates with me, or anything that I hadn't thought of that the meaning in the book does actually spark. If it doesn't align with what I got from the card, then I don't even pay any attention to it. So for example, with the Green Man, you know, if I read that and I got, you know, celebration and joy and reverence and all of that stuff that I get from that card, but then the bless you, I don't know if you heard that or not. So you know, I get celebration and you know, all that stuff from the card. And then if I read the book and the book told me that it was, you know, about giving up something, or, you know, just something totally off the wall from what I read, I would not let that change my opinion, and I would not let that then be what I thought the card meant. However, if the book said it's about giving up something and, you know, negativity and blah, 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 but then it asked a question, you know, what do you need to give up? What do, you know, like, or if it did make me think something else, like complete left field, but still resonated with me, then I would take that into account. So I don't even know how long I've been rambling at this point. I think I'm probably at a good, oh, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. But I tell you all of that to tell you this. The Everyday Witch Tarot is fucking amazing on the app. So I felt like if the app was this good, and if I connected and resonated with the app this much, and the depictions on the cards, in an app, what would the physical deck be like? So I've worked with this deck for about 3 months on the app, and I finally decided to go ahead and purchase the physical deck. And it finally came in today. So since this has been kind of a longer introduction than I ever expected it to be, I've decided to go ahead and break this up and pause here and let this be the end of the video, and then I will do the actual unboxing of the Everyday Witch Tarot in a separate video. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope that some of what I said resonated with you, and let me know how you feel. Let me know if you read faces, or if facey decks bother you, or if you read intuitively and so you need that story as well, or if you can just read, you know, any kind of deck because you have the books kind of, you know, the meanings kind of memorized. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and even if you disagree, like I said, if you can be cool about it, then leave your comments down below, because I'd love to have a conversation about this. I'd like to know if there are other people who read the same way that I do and need that story. So yeah, I'm interested to see about all of that. The rest of the video will be listed as part 2, the Everyday Witch unboxing. So stick around for that, because I'm actually going to upload them both today. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember, you can find all the links for all the places to hang out with me down below. Not that I'm on social media a whole hell of a lot right now, but the links are there if you want to come find me in those places and hang out. Remember, you are fierce, you are fabulous, and you are fucking badass. So keep that shit up, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye!